Well, hello and good evening, everybody. And there's lots of people in here already. I've been chatting before we started, so that is just so much fun. And so I'm just going to say hi to everybody. And Xander is here. He was our very first person in. Then Teresa came in, and Dale. And she just had a great interview with Tony, who is also in here from Kettle Kitchen. And then Doug is here from His Way Homestead. So it's Doug's birthday. Don't tell anybody, but it's his birthday. And who else is in here? Julie is in here. Carmen is in here. Craig is in here. So much fun. Doug was here early. Oh, he was even here earlier than that before he commented. So that's fun. People are telling you happy birthday. I know it's a top secret, Doug. Teresa is here. See, everybody's saying hi and happy birthday to Doug. So much fun. Well, today is an interesting topic. Now, I am a suburban homesteader. And when we first bought our house, it was just fields next to us. No houses. I mean, farther up the street, there were houses that went in the roads. But where we were, we were the second to the last house on the street. That whole part was field. And so we were basically in the suburbs. Now we have a school across after 18 years, almost 19 years. And they have got rows and rows and rows of houses now. So now I feel like I'm in the city, even though technically they still say I'm in the suburbs. Now, one little note, Doug has been a member for 35 months, and Ann has been one for 21 months. And so I appreciate all my members that are in here. Oh, and Carol's here. Hey, Carol, how are ya? Doug says, I'm accepting donations for my birthday present so I can buy a 5-ton military truck. Yes! I saw pictures of it. It's awesome. And Paul's here. Hey, Paul, all the way from Australia. How are ya? And Barb's Country Home has popped in. Fabulous. Just people popping in. I just love that. So our topic for today, because I like to have a topic. I like to talk about something specifically besides just chatting with everybody, which is always so much fun. Oh, no worries at all. I just appreciate that you want to be. That is awesome. And thank you very much, Doug, for the thumbs up, everybody. That always helps with our analytics. So why? Why would somebody want to be a suburban homesteader or a city homesteader? Citysteader. I kind of shortened it. I'm sure that's it. That's a term. Yeah, I think you have to first ask yourself why. Why do you want to go through all of that work? And then what are you going to do to become one? I think it's interesting that when we think of homesteading, that we think that we have to do everything. We have to have all these different animals and all these gardens and all these trees and know how to bake and can and freeze and dehydrate and on and on and on. Now, do you? Nobody can do that all at once. It would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to do that all at once. Just a side note, see how Doug typed in channel? When he does that, if you have a channel yourself, it will pull up so that people can click on it and subscribe and check out your channel. So thanks, Doug, for that. I think that's a good answer. Why would you want to do it? So you're not a slave to the system. You want to be independent. I think these are important things. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I think it's a process. Because in the city, a lot of times you have a lot less land than you do even in the suburbs. So what can you do with what you have to become more self-sufficient, to become a city homesteader? Now, some people grow up and their parents or their uncles, their aunts, their grandparents. They teach them a lot of things. And I think sometimes people are apprehensive just because they don't have that knowledge base to start out with. But that's where your computer comes in handy. The library comes in handy because you can watch videos, you can read books, and you can find some mentors. There are always people willing to help, willing to teach other people. Diana is here. Thanks so much for stopping in. And Doug is right. You need to start slowly, see what you can do, see what you can learn, and you'll be amazed at what you can learn. I mean, I am just so amazed that people start, they're talking to you, they're asking you questions, they're taking maybe classes that you're giving because they want to do that. They want to become a homesteader where they live. And there are a lot, like Doug says, there's a lot of videos out there. Don't just look at one. If you're trying to learn something, a skill, you need to look at many videos because you will glean from every single one of them. And that's always fabulous. Paul, thank you very much. And side note, next Tuesday is when I'm going to do my huge giveaway. You have to be on the live. I'm giving away vanilla beans and gift cards and gifts. And some of my guests have donated gifts because I'm going to have a few different channels up also. So that will be really fun. Now, if I was going to start homesteading in the city, one of the things I would want to learn first is probably gardening. Because even if you didn't have some garden space tilled up, you could start in pots. And it's something that you're cutting your food bill, which is always a plus. And you're learning a skill that's a lifelong skill. I like to look at things on what kind of fruits or vegetables will come back every year. And so, it's going to be epic. Epic. Oh, thanks, Doug. Doug is going to be on. He's one of my guests, and he's donated a Commander Bacon hat. I have a Commander Bacon hat. It is awesome. And there are some people on YouTube that give out bad information. So if you're listening to multiple people, say you want to learn how to can, watch a whole bunch of different canning videos. Go to your library. Your extension office, a lot of times, once or twice a year, will have classes on canning. So you just want to, you want to learn correctly. So you're not making some mistakes over and over again. Carmen says, I learned that potatoes are cheap. Potatoes are cheap. There are vegetables that you grow, or you may want to grow. You have to decide, is it cheaper for me to go to the farmer's market and buy those organic ones, or do I have enough room, enough space that I can grow them myself? Skills that are very helpful. Can you build or repair things? Do you know how to forage? Can you leave the city or you're going into parks? Are there places that you can forage for free food, free herbs, free flowers? I kind of like the idea of expanding what we think or believe. Can you go hunting? Can you leave your town and go hunting or fishing? Or is there a fishing lake or a river that goes through your town that you can supplement your food so that, one, it's enjoyable, you're becoming more self-sufficient. It's something that sometimes you have to look outside the box. Teresa says, I grew what I can in a limited space available to me, can dehydrate or freeze what I grow. It isn't much, but every bit helps. And I think that's true. Sometimes we just think, if I don't got 40 acres, I just can't do it. But that's not true. You can do it with on a balcony. You can do it in a small backyard. Look in your city, and maybe there's a community garden that if you don't have space at your house, you can do it there. Department of Ag has a lot of information and recipes on canning. Totally true. Hi, Dorothy. How are ya? And I thought Jake had come in. Jake did come in. How are ya? Doug has 2.5 acres, and they have a lot of animals. They garden. They do all kinds of stuff. They have bees. So, like, in your city, will they let you have chickens? Well, can you have quail? Maybe you can have rabbits. Maybe you can have bees. What can you do right where you are to become a homesteader in the city? Because there are a lot of things. Now, hey, Lynn, how are ya? Lynn says that she did herbs on her balcony when she was living in an apartment. So many things. Can you grow some vegetables 365 days a year? Can you use hydroponics? Can you use aquaponics? What can you do? Are you collecting the water that comes off your roof? We have 5 rain barrels. We used to have 6, but then one of them just broke enough that it wasn't fixable for Joe. So we can collect water from the rain, and then I can use it on my garden. Xander says, community garden, my rear end. Those things are supposed to be free. They cost $300 per half. Oh, just a minute. Sorry, it's going up, so I can't read it. For a half raised bed. See, here we can get, costs us about $70, and you get 400 square feet. That includes the use of all the tools, free seeds, and free water. So it just depends on where you live, you know? And so you're just going to have to see if that's economical. And Ann is here. Hey, Ann, how are ya? Jake says squirrel season. There's squirrel season, deer season. Most of the time you can fish all year round. Can you learn, if you don't know how to do that, can you learn to do those things? Stacy, hello. Stacy says, so important for us to pass our knowledge of gardening, canning, etc. to our children, now grandchildren. It's like giving an inheritance to them. I would so agree. When we grew up, my dad, he's a fix-it. You know, we rarely bought things brand new. In fact, I was in high school before I got my first brand new bike, and my brother and I went in and bought one together. It was always used before that. Not that they were bad. There was nothing wrong with them. Are you willing to go to a secondhand store? Are you willing to barter? Doug says, seek out advice from old folks near you. You can even share your harvest with them in exchange for their assistance. So true. That is a system of learning and bartering of things they know, things you can do for them in exchange, so it's a win-win for everybody. Do you know how to sew? Do you know how to use yarn? Can you knit, crochet? What kind of tools do you know how to do? There's just so many things that you can learn if you want to. And you don't have to learn everything. So many times, people that want to be homesteaders think that they have to know everything. It's a learning process. And so, what is your goal for 1 year? What is your goal for in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? Do you want to eventually have some acreage out of town? Are you happy with just being in town and doing what you can in that space? Carrie says that she lives in an apartment. Now, behind me is my hydroponics. We're about to go to Arizona, so I've cleaned it all up. But my hydroponic system only comes out from the wall about 1.5 feet. And I can grow so much food in there continually. It's amazing. I've made hydroponics just out of totes. And I've grown all kinds of lettuces and different plants in there. It's just amazing what you can do. Hi, a hill. Grew corn in fabric pots this year. okra, cucumbers, eggplants, peppers, kale, turmeric, ginger, 2-year-old pear trees, lemons, all in fabric pots. I was at a Master Gardener meeting last night, and they were showing a garden that is a local gal. She has never gardened before. And she literally made these, well, she bought Walmart bags. And then she had rain gutters. And she cut a hole in the bottom of the bag, set it over top so that she could fill the rain gutter. And she grew all kinds of vegetables. She grew corn in a baby kid's pool, you know, one of those little teeny pools. It was just so inspiring, and she was so excited about being able to do so much in such a limited space. And she was so successful, and it was her very first time of gardening. Diana says that my husband got me a green tower. I grew carrots, spinach, lettuce, sweet potatoes, plus my regular garden. There's just so many things, because sometimes we have to grow up instead of out when we don't have very much space. I think it depends on how much you want to be self-sufficient. Now, even if you had 40 acres, you may not have everything that you need. You know, you're still going to the store and you're buying flour and you're buying sugar and you're trading some skill that you have with something else that you need. And I think that is a great way to do things. We don't have to do everything. Maybe your next door neighbor is gardening too. You only have limited space. What if they grow certain things, you grow the other things, and you share? Jake says, plant bacon seeds. That's right. I have a pumpkin patch near our house, and my neighbor likes to bake pumpkin pie. So it always smells so good. Trade. You know, trade it back and forth. What can you do? It's just, you know, what I've always been inspired over in the Netherlands. They have gardens and gardens and gardens in their backyard, if you have seen some of the photographs. And they talk with their neighbors. So somebody's maybe really good at growing squash. Somebody's really good at growing corn. And so then they're exchanging, sharing. And when you have limited space, it's a great thing to do. Lynn says that she wants to try one of those tabletop hydroponics that Amazon sells. They work so well. I have a couple different ones of them. I use one down in Arizona because I'm not going to bring my great big one down there. And, hello. How are you, Casey? Sorry, if I missed anybody, just forgive me and just make another comment. And Carmen says that they have to go. Thanks so much for stopping by. Anarchy Television. Unfortunately, the only thing I can grow really well is onions. Oh, I love onions. And onions are great because you grow them, you can store them, and use them all through the year. So usually, I like the onions that I grew in Arizona that I didn't use down there. I brought up here, and in fact, I just finished dehydrating some of them because I was afraid that with my onions that were already here, I didn't know what to do with all of them. So I just dehydrated about 15 pounds of onions. Then I can use them. I can take them easily to Arizona. And before my onions are ready down there, I have onions that I produced. So it's fabulous. Oh, you've got your pumpkin seeds. Awesome. I have lots of those pumpkins left. I did a video on making a pumpkin pie out of the French pumpkin that has the warts on them. So if any of you want some of those seeds, just send me an email and I will send them out to you. Oh, Stacy says that 4 months into making vanilla after watching your video. Awesome. So exciting. Lynn is trying some soft-neck garlic. I hear it does well here in North Texas. Where I live, I always do hardneck garlic. In fact, I'm going to be planting them this week because hardneck will survive our winters where softneck won't. Though I have grown softneck, but I planted in the springtime. And I think you can't have enough garlic. So I grow garlic both places. And it's just one of those things that for us, because you want to grow things that your family will eat. There is no reason to grow something that your family hates and nobody's going to eat it, unless you specifically already know beforehand that you can trade it for something else. That somebody you know loves that and you have space, and so you're going to trade it so it's a win-win for both of you. Dorothy, send me an email just to remind me so I don't forget to send those out to you, because I'll do that tomorrow. Lynn uses a lot of garlic and onions in cooking. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, email that to me. Awesome. Yay. Now, there are things that will grow as perennials. Artichokes, asparagus. And with artichokes, there are regular artichokes and there's what they call Jerusalem artichokes. Not related whatsoever. And I can actually overwinter artichokes here in Wyoming if I put about 1.5 feet, 2 feet of straw over top of it, and then it insulates it enough so it's okay. Rhubarb, lots and lots of herbs, mint, lovage, horseradish, chives, onions, leeks. How about fruit trees? How about berries, grapes, nuts, ginger? A lot of things that once you plant them, they're always there. And so when you're starting a homestead, if you put some of those things that you know, even if you have 1 year that's not too good, they're going to come back the next year and you're going to have that without a cost the next year. Paul says he loves growing his own food. Me too. Because I find it very satisfying. I can start things from seed. Like a package of tomato seeds will cost you less than $5. One plant at the box store, one tomato plant, and not that big of a tomato plant, was costing almost $5 last year. Or you can buy one package of seeds and you have the ones that you grow that year, and you have seeds basically forever because you can always save those tomato seeds. Are you setting yourself up for a pantry so that when you have extra things, produce, are you drying it, canning it, freezing it, putting it in your pantry? Dorothy says perennials, annuals. Perennials come back every year. Annuals it does its whole cycle in 1 year. But there are vegetables that we grow as annuals that are actually biannuals. They don't actually send a seed head up, usually, unless the weather's crazy, until the second year. Carrots are one of those things. Now, every once in a while, the weather, the temperature is weird, and all of a sudden your carrot will send up a flower. But not usually. Oh, and Rebecca is here. Awesome. How are you, Rebecca? It was fun to see you on your live stream the other day. Julie says, there is just something about eating a vegetable that has never been refrigerated. And onions, whew. It is something. It's very satisfying to pick vegetables out of your garden or out of a pot in a hydroponics, and you know exactly what that went into that. It's fabulous. But as your journey of homesteading gets farther and farther in, take classes. Find mentors that will teach you different things. And just grow in your knowledge. I always think of, can I use every single thing I have in my house? And what do I do with all those bags that you go to the grocery store? Now, I have my little totes, but sometimes you're buying more groceries than that. And then all of a sudden you got this stack of plastic grocery bags. What are you going to do with them? You can make rugs out of them. You can do all kinds of stuff to reuse them. I hate throwing things into the trash. So I always think, can I reuse this somehow? Oh, Killer Cuddles. Thanks for coming in. And it's been forever, they say. And thank you very much. The channel is very blessed, and I truly appreciate everybody. So that's why next Tuesday I'm giving away all kinds of stuff. Diana says you can cut back your pepper plant down and bring it in from cold, and then you will have a plant started for next year. Pepper is a perennial, actually. We don't grow them as perennials, but it is a perennial that you can bring the whole pepper plant in there, and it'll grow 5 to 7 years. And it will just get huge, and you can take it out in the summertime, bring it back in the next winter. Side note, some pepper plants are very strong. And so the room that they're in can very much smell like peppers. Not all pepper plants are like that, but there are some. Paul says there's nothing that beats homegrown. So agree. I know my kitchen kale pot by the sink is bug-free. Garden kale, not so much. Sometimes it just depends. The stronger you can make your soil, the stronger you can make your plants, the less bad pests you will have. Let's go here first. Tomatoes and eggplants are perennials too, if you're in zone 9 or above. I haven't got my tomatoes to keep growing because I don't water that section, but my eggplant is actually in my flower bed. And when we came back last year, even after the weather had been 100 and some degrees for how many days, who knows, my eggplant was still growing because it got water every other day. And so that was kind of fun. Doug says, even learning how to cut up a chicken into parts is important to know. It is. When you get cuts of meat or you have a whole chicken, how can you stretch that out? Do you know how to cut that up? Are you cutting on the grain on different beefs? Are you cutting across the grain if it's a poor cut so that it's more tender? There's things to learn. Lynn says that she uses plastic grocery bags for disposing after scooping up kitty litter. See, there's things that you can do. So Mary Ranch is in here. Everybody say hello to Mary Ranch, one of our favorite people. Thank you so much. That's right. 3.7 million views. It's craziness. It blows my mind, actually, every single time I see when you go to your analytics and it tells you all this stuff, and it's like, wow. You know, I'm just so thankful. So I really appreciate you guys. And Alpine Gulches in here tonight. And it is Alpine Gulches. She doesn't really like saying her first name, so it's just Alpine Gulch. She is a birthday girl this month. Her and Doug both are. It's very exciting. And I love it. Everybody is saying hi to everybody. It is a lot of views. It's just crazy. But I so appreciate it. Now, somebody asked me, if I could only have one garden tool, one, out of all the garden tools, what would it be? And I really had to think about it. Because when you start being a homesteader, your garden is a major point on most people. And there's tools to buy, you know, shovels and spades and rakes and hoes and all these different things. But if I could only buy one, after I thought about it, I think it would be a stirrup hoe. I have a stirrup hoe, and like Xander says, a shovel. That is a great thing to have. I think it's great. Doug says a hoe is pretty important, but I'm not sure if everybody knows what a stirrup hoe is. It's a hoe, but you know a stirrup on a saddle. It kind of goes up like this, and it's open right here where your foot, the cowboy's boot, would go in there. Well, that's what a stirrup hoe is. And Joe, I have several of them, but Joe took one of them and cut it so it's just a handle for handheld. And I use that more than any other tool I have. if I was picking a tool for my fruit trees, it would be a nipper. That would be my favorite tool. But for the garden, I can just scrape any of the weeds that are coming up. I can get around plants. I can break up the soil so that the water comes down in it. So for me, that would be my favorite tool. I think everybody would have their own tool. That's their favorite. Lots of people, it would be a shovel or a spade. But for me, my gardens are established. And so having a stirrup hoe that I can just break everything up. I don't have to use a tiller. I don't have to use a heavy rake. I want to be able to get around plants. The stirrup hoe would be my number one choice. But everybody kind of gets into their own rhythm. And so they decide what is the best thing for them. Now, a skill that's fun to learn when you're a homesteader is preserving. You know, maybe it's you're freezing, you're canning, you're dehydrating, you're fermenting. A skill that I like to do is brewing. It could be kombucha, it could be apple cider, it could be wines, it could be beer, though I don't even drink that. But I love the whole process of it. I love when things ferment, when they bubble, when they do stuff. I just love that whole process. And those are things to learn, but you don't have to learn that right away. Maybe that's a goal in 5 years to learn. Oh, and Tina Ladybug is here. Tina girl, how are ya? And Doug says it really depends on if you have raised beds or in the ground. And we're talking about when we pick out our favorite one tool, because it just depends on what you're doing. Preserving is preserving. Doug, I love you. And if you've just come in, it is Doug's birthday on Thursday. So please tell him happy birthday. Now, I have a video coming out tomorrow. Let's see what's in here. I cooked them today. I call them Mary rolls. Now, my friend Mary that told me about them, she calls them Manhattan rolls. But I make them really big. Oh, sickles are fun too. Yeah, they can do a lot of stuff on a homestead. But I call them Mary buns. Okay, so this is what they look like. This time when I made the dough, I put in basil and cheese and garlic in the bread. But inside here is hamburger that I browned, and I added mushrooms and onions and peppers, and then you bake it all inside the roll. And because I make them big, it's basically a whole dinner. And so usually when Joe and I have them, because we'll have them for supper when he gets home from jiu-jitsu, I'll heat it up, I'll cut it open, and I like to put ketchup and mayo in mine. He likes ketchup and mustard. And so the rest of them, I'll just put in the freezer in either 2 packs or 4 packs, and then anytime we want them, we can take them out. Teresa says, and just add gravy. But, in fact, what I'm going to do next time is I'm actually going to cook some potatoes, boil some potatoes, cut them up, and then I'm going to put potatoes in with the hamburger. And then I'm going to make gravy, so the days that we have it, we can pour gravy over top of it. But you could put chicken in them, you could put pork, anything that you wanted to put in there. But I call them Mary rolls because Mary, my friend that I paint with, she's the one who told me about them. And I couldn't find a recipe for Manhattan rolls anywhere, so I just made it up, you know. So, you know, it's just something I think would be fun to make. And so the video will come out tomorrow on how I made them. And it'll have the recipe for the bread, and it'll have the recipe for the hamburger mixture that I made in there. But it's one of those dinners that you could add whatever. You could add whatever vegetable that was ready in your garden. You could have whatever meats. You wouldn't actually even have to have meats. You could have a whole array of vegetables, like a vegetable soup, though I wouldn't put too much liquid in there while you're baking it. You could add that later. And so, oh, Lynn says, I like my garden cart. Makes gardening in the ground easier on my back. I just sit on it and it rolls in the garden. I have one of those. I do love it. We made a lot of raised beds, was it 2 years ago? Just because I told Joe, you know, we're older. Maybe later on it'll be easier to have raised beds. But over at the community garden, it's in the ground. So I'm doing both of them. So I just bring my little cart and I can just wheel it right along, just like Lynn says. Doug says, I recommend getting as many hand-operated tools and learn how to use them, just in case there isn't any gas or electricity. I have to agree with that, because depending on where you live, maybe that makes a difference on, maybe you're solar, maybe you're using wind, maybe the electricity is down, maybe it's too far from your house where your garden space is. And I would always buy, look at garage sales, secondhand stores, things like that when you very first are starting your garden. But if once a year you can buy a really good heavy-duty tool that will last you 20, 30, 40 years, it's very much worth it. And so a good quality tool, but there's a lot of times I've been at garage sales and I have seen fabulous tools that maybe people got them for a gift, maybe they got older and they don't use those tools anymore. There's some reason why they're selling them. Paul says he's growing about 30 different foods in their garden at the moment. That is fabulous. Now, usually here in Wyoming, we have had snow or frost in September sometime. And so you cover up things, but some things can't survive that cold. We have not had frost yet. But Friday morning, we are supposed to have frost about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's only supposed to be 29 degrees. So Thursday, the day before, I will be picking every one of my pears. I will be covering tomatoes up. I'm going to pick all the pumpkins that I have left and just let them turn orange inside, because I have too much to cover everything. But it has been a good season for us. We have had so much rain. Oh, look who's here. KK is here. How are you? KK is part of the Vineyard Chicks. And how is the Bunky girl? Is she feeling better? I hope she is. Julie says that she makes a brisket with cranberry sauce any month of the year. That is fabulous. I love a good brisket. But it's like when you start anything. You start slow. You see what's important to you and your family, what you can do now. What can you learn next year, next winter? Like winter is a good time to take classes, to read books, watch videos so that you can incorporate that into your new city homestead when it's next spring. But take advice from people. If you watch somebody on YouTube, she's on her way into the live now. Awesome. Bunky was in the hospital and they had a short, and she was coming out of anesthesia, and it was very cute and very funny, and and there she is, Bunky girl. How are you? Bunky, I'm glad you're feeling better. And Cheryl is here too. See, I'm way past my time. I usually try to keep my lives at a half hour because there's just so many people having lives. Plus, I figure people are busy. So and Trey is here too. Awesome, 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 awesome. Everybody's saying hi to the Vineyard Chicks. The Vineyard Chicks are one of my favorites. Those 3 girls are amazing. But everybody, I'm going to let you go, but let's just recap just quickly. City homesteading. You've decided to be a city homesteader. You've answered the question of why. How are you going to start? Is it gardening? Is it preserving? Is it having animals? Is it, you haven't had any experience in that, but you love to go fishing. That is part of your homesteading. That is adding to your overall homesteading experience. Maybe you know how to sew. Maybe you need to learn how to sew. What can you do with, like, I know people that have yarn and they'll tell me that they don't know how to crochet, they don't know how to knit. Well, what if you use that yarn and you do latch hook and you make rugs? Look at what you have in your house right now, in your apartment right now. What can you do to move that into your homesteading experience? So, everybody, I'm going to let you go. Joe will be home fairly soon. Where is my watch? I don't know. It's right here. I took it off. It was bothering my wrist. But check out the video tomorrow with my Mary buns. Oh man, it smells so good. Last time I just made it regular buns. And I thought, I need to add cheese into that bread and garlic and basil and whatever else you want to do. And then it's got the meat inside. I'm so looking forward to supper. Old sheets into rag rugs for the floor. I love rag rugs. I've seen people that do latch hooking, but they've used old jeans, different pieces of material. What you have, what do you take stock in what you have in your house? What can you do that furthers your homesteading experience? Now I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for staying with me. And remember, next Tuesday is my huge giveaway. And the Vineyard Chicks are going to be on my live also. And they have some gifts for people too. So you can win from them too. So everybody, thanks so much. I love you.